like you better than this one and you better than, you know, James, Peter, whatever the case may be. It was more so like, hey, y'all all got your own mission.
Yeah.
Y'all all the one. I pour my spirit into you to go actually carry out an assignment. And, you know, from there, it's just kind of like, for me, what you're talking about, it's the same thing, but we're on an assignment. You know, of course, Ricardo's looks different from Keith. Keith looks different from Ricardo's, but at the same time, we can still carry that spirit, still be the ones, but still go carry out the assignment that God has for us, even though it's going to be different. But we can still come together and be like, you know what, like even perfect example. You can go on your journey. You can still be the one, but you can still go through things in life. But you got Keith, that's the one too as well. Like, hey man, Keith, I know what you have. I need some. I need encouragement. I need vice versa. You know what I mean? Like, and it's just like, at that point now, we're coming together and we're feeding each other and we're lifting each other up. Oh, now I know why. You're the one. Now I know why you're the one, because you have what I'm looking for in this season, and you're gonna have what I'm looking for in this season. It's just gonna be different. It's just gonna be different, man. And like, that is the point of, you know, what you were saying, man. That's why I don't compare myself to anybody. I'm just like, man, hey, look, I'm him, and that's just what it is. You know what I mean? Like, and that's what it is, and that's not to say, you know, I'm better than anybody, because I know that for sure. Like, not perfect, but hey, I know what God placed in me, and I know what I'm supposed to be doing, because I have that relationship. Not about religion, but it's relationship.
It's a spiritual relationship, bro. Put it all aside. For me, it's like, I don't even, when people like, what religion are you, bro? Bro, I believe in God. I am God. We were created in His image, and once people understand that God is a more advanced version of ourselves, and we have the capacity to be Him, right? Not the Creator, but be Him, because He created us. You know what I'm saying? And bro, this is some behind the scenes footage. You know, we haven't even gotten to the
podcast.
Recorded, bro. So
what's up?
You know what I mean? So I'll end up cutting this so that we can have it for some behind the scenes stuff, bro. But what's going on, Fury Cup fam? What's going on, Fury Cup fam? This is your host, Ricardo Terrell, coming to you guys with another episode of the Fury Cup podcast. My mission is to inspire one soul at a time to ultimately inspire the world. And today I plan to do that by having a candid conversation with a man that is a leader of many, from working with the youth to doing ministry work to helping everybody in every way of life. You know, he's a husband. He's a brother to me. This is Keith.
What's going on? What's going on? Fill your cup, audience. What's going on, man? I am appreciative to be on this podcast, man. It's an honor, man, and thank you, and bless you all, man. Thank you for having me. Man.
Yes, sir. 100%, bro. Super excited to have this conversation, but more than anything, welcome you guys in on what we talk about on a regular basis if the cameras were not even on, you know. So with this insight, my hope is that you guys can learn something, that your heart can shift. I'm excited about learning some things about Keith that I don't even know, you know. And for one, I want God to be able to bless every person under the sound of our voices, because the reality is this is going to get posted, but there's going to be people listening to this for the first time 10 years from now. Right? Oh, and 10 years from now, we're obviously going to be 10 years older, and we'll be able to look back and be like, man, do you remember where we were at that time? And what our lives were like, and the impact that we had on people. So that's my hope. And my prayer is that you don't just listen for entertainment. Listen for breakthrough. And when you hear something and you're feeling like either butterflies or this conviction, I want you to write that feeling down, or write down what you're thinking in that moment, because those convictions are oftentimes what we need to press into in order to get to where we're ultimately destined to go. You know, so Keith, for you, bro, I'd love to dive right into it, man, and really get an understanding of who you are, where you come from, and let's get to the root of that, right? Because I'll always say this, guys. When you get to the root of an individual, when you strip away all the titles, the accolades, the financials, we can place the proper value on that person. And no matter your skin color, right? No matter what language you speak, if you have an in-depth, intimate conversation with an individual, and egos aside, you'll actually realize that you have more in common with that person than you thought. You know, so let's get to the beginning, bro.
Yeah, man. Just for me, you know, just background wise too as well.
Yes, sir.
Well, for sure, man. I grew up I was born in the Kansas City, Missouri area. 2 months when I was born, I actually ended up moving to Sacramento, California. Actually.
Okay.
So
Sacktown.
Yeah, man. What's up, Sacktown? I know probably some of my family gonna be watching this too when I share this.
Okay, that's all right.
What's up, Sacktown family? Can't wait to come see y'all too as well. Shout out to y'all. But yeah, man, I stayed out there till I was about 12 years old. And then moved back. I was super mad, and my dad probably gonna be watching this too, but he knows. We've had conversations about this. My mom and my sister, we were all on board. But yeah, man, we were mad. Just moving back, but I'm just so grateful that, you know, he listened to God to come back and help. And I'll kind of get on that here in a bit. But I mean, but you know, it's Sacktown, man. It's California. You know, it's the palm trees. You know, it's you know, it's North Sac, man. Beautiful weather. But we were looking at it from the outside. You know what I mean, and not knowing that if, you know, that move did not happen, I wouldn't even be sitting here today. And we
100%.
wouldn't, you know, be creating this brotherhood. But you know, my dad actually ended up moving here to help my grandfather with his church. So my dad, he's a pastor, he's a bishop, and has his church now. Shout out to my church family, Inhabitants of Praise Church International. What's up?
Yes,
we representing. So, but outside of that, you know, so yeah, man, he came here when I was 12 to help my grandfather. That ended up, you know, kind of. My grandfather ended up getting, you know, some health issues, so my dad ended up starting his own church. So yeah, man, outside of that, I started working when I was young. I started at 12 years old, so as soon as we moved down here, man, I got to it. I got to the money. And I worked at City Market, downtown Kansas City, and it was really, really cool, man. It taught me a lot. I was basically just there taking tips and money, taking money for tips, just taking produce to people's cars. If anybody who ever been, you know, downtown City Market, you know, it's nothing but pumpkins, watermelons, and flowers. That's it. Sure. That's all mandatory. You know. If you're from the KC area, man. So yeah, man, I took, you know, just produce to people's cars for tips and money. I did that from 12 to all the way till about 17. But man, I can say this, and it's kind of like a lesson too as well that I've learned in that, just, you know, how I discovered myself. I know you mentioned that, you know, you kind of really want to get to the root of myself, and it kind of really started there. And so, you know, just thinking, let's just get into the mind of a 12-year-old. It's just like, you know, got this job through my cousin, Carol Green, former director of Parks and Recs. Shout out to you. But you know, she really blessed me with that opportunity too as well. So not only was I in basketball, but I was also, you know, she was able to help me, you know, kind of get some money in my pocket.
There we go.
Yeah, you know, a little bit of grind. So from there, you know, 12, 13, 14 years old, you know, we can just go in, we can make money. You know, it was nothing. You know, you didn't have to take no break. It was just you go in, you grind. And so it started to change, and this is kind of where I started to realize a lot about myself around about 15, that next following season. And it started to go kind of corporate a little bit. And what I mean by that is it started to have like a break, and like if you wasn't coming in, you had to call. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
I'm like, what are we doing here?
Messing up the flow.
Messing up my money,
flow,
right?
Bro.
And it taught me a lot, because I realized, and this was a lesson in that, I realized that I felt like I was being controlled. I felt like I was being like a modern day slave.
Wow.
Why? Because, I mean, when you're so used to doing something, you know, just coming and going as you please, especially when the money is involved. You know, again, this is the mind of a 12-year-old, you know, and so when they, you know, told us like, hey, you gotta, if you're not coming in, you gotta call. You know, you gotta call in, or, you know, now you gotta take breaks, and now, you know, who used to be your customers, they may have to go to somebody else, because, you know, we don't want to kind of keep them waiting. So it was a lot, man. But at that point, like, I've always had that mindset. I told my mom, I mean, at the age of 12 too as well, I was like, my wife is not going to be able to work a job if she does not want to. I said that. I literally, and I wish I could call her like, Mama, what I say?
Yeah.
But
she gonna confirm that.
Yeah, she gonna be like, yeah, I remember you saying that.
Wow.
But yeah, man, I said that. And I remember saying that I was working, at that job, and I came home and I was just having a conversation, and I was just like, man, you know what? My wife is not going to work a job unless she wants to. That's an option that she wants to have. And so not knowing that, I'm speaking these things into existence at the age of 12, man. And so, from there, I started to realize God has always placed like this entrepreneurial spirit inside of me, not just in my heart, but in my mind. And it's not an entrepreneurial spirit or a discipleship spirit to just get money.
Correct.
You know what I mean? It's a discipleship spirit to actually go get what I can get to go teach others. You see what I'm saying? And not just that from the entrepreneur standpoint, but also go help others.
Correct.
With a pure heart, that I've always wanted to, just be able to help people, become wealthy. I didn't know how I was going to do it at that time, but I was like, you know what? Just because, I feel like a slave, just because I feel like I can't do what I want, you know what I'm going to do? It's okay. I'm going to own my own business. I was asking somebody, I was like, well, what can I make the most money with, but do less work? It's like, oh, you want to be a business owner. There we go. That's what I'm going for, right?
Yes,
and so I was like, okay, from that moment on, man, I grabbed something, a hold to it, didn't even know what I was, what I was really getting myself together for today. And so, man, from there, went through a lot. Just in my journey of working, still working right now currently, but not for long here soon.
Yes,
so
sir.
I'm grateful for that. But get into that. But started working a lot of blue collar jobs. Man, I've done everything from warehouse to Dairy Queen. That was one of my favorite jobs, man. That ice cream, I love it today.
Shout out to DQ, bro.
What's up?
Like, how do y'all get the ice cream not to slip, bro? Like, how did it not fall? My wife and I were
with the little curl thing?
Yes, bro. Like, you tip it over, bro, and it just it never comes out.
Well, it's they got that whole model, like if it does slip, you get a free one or something.
Okay, that's dope.
But it's so cold to where just like people don't know it's really not supposed to slip.
Okay, I got you.
But I probably still know how to do my little curl. I don't know, man. Man, look, I'm hooked on it now. It was bad, but it was good at the same time.
Right.
I can't stay away from Dairy Queen, bro. I can't, man. But my wife gets on me every time about that. She was like, it ain't that good. I was like, yeah, no.
Yes, sir.
You gotta go. But yeah, man. So I've worked every single job there is, man. But yeah, man. Went to Hogan Prep Academy for high school. Shout out to the Rams. They doing big things right now. Now they got an elementary and a middle school. Why y'all couldn't do that when I was going? Right. But that's a story for another time. I'm gonna talk to y'all about that later. I still know people that's staff, so we're gonna talk about that. But yeah, man, graduated 2010, telling on my age a little bit. Yeah, man, that's why I was like, you heard me earlier when you was like 5-10 years from now. I was like,
oh boy, now knowing what that age is, but nah, bro, that's still gonna be super young too,
Yeah, it is, man, and you young at heart, man. I still, feel like I'm super, super young, but after I graduated, I ended up going to Longview Community College for business. And it was kind of really, man, that's when I started to get into, the young man phase, not necessarily a man yet, but like really truly knowing who Keith is. So went there for business, started to realize, man, some of my professors don't even probably own their own business. So I'm just like, what am I kind of here for? Real cool guy. I remember his name was Zach Taylor, one of my business professors, but I'm like, I don't even think he owned his own business. So that was just a story in itself for another time. But
that's a quick point.
Yeah.
I don't want to cut your wisdom right there. All right.
Yeah.
Listen, he stated that he thinks, but the reality is they probably didn't. Right. He's learning business from people who did not own a business.
Yeah.
How is that possible? You cannot regurgitate something and expect results, right? There is a mindset and a heart posture that you have to have in order to actually produce outcomes, right? Yeah. Because the reality is just thinking about something is not going to bring it to life. It's like faith without works is dead. Yeah, that's exactly what it is. Yeah. And I can't tell you how many people that I've conversed with that have said that they wanted to accomplish these certain things, and I'm sure you have as well, you know what I'm saying? Absolutely. And you get to the root of it and you realize that they really don't want it. It just sounds good. Yeah. Right? They perceive an individual who is successful and be like, I want what they have. Yep. And then some people will be like, I'm willing to do whatever it takes. And the reality is, if you map out what it really takes to succeed, whatever that is for you, right? Yeah. Most people will be like, you know what? I don't want to change my habits. Yep. You know, so quick teaching point right there. Yeah. Only take advice from people that have fruit on the tree. Not talking about what they did 40 to 50 years ago. Yeah. Right? Yeah. Because if you take the advice of those people, you better be willing to trade places with them. Yeah. Because you acting on that advice is going to lead to the results that they currently have. Yeah. That makes sense? Yeah.
Man, that's so good, man. And it's gonna get deeper, man. We gonna come back to that, but it's gonna get deeper, man, because that's a part of my journey. It's a part of my story, and you know, we're actually in the same circles, man. So I can't wait to get back to that, because I may even ask you some questions about that too. Yes, I'm gonna interview the interviewer. But yeah, man. Ended up going to college for that, and like I said, man, I honestly don't think he actually had his own business. Just, you could tell when someone talks, and you could tell now with me actually owning, you know, my own business, and I know you could say the same, like, you can tell when someone kind of really owns their own business. Yes, not just saying like, I own my own business, because anybody can get an LLC and they be like, yeah, I own my own business, but they ain't got no revenue going. I was one of those people too. I ain't gonna cap. You know what I mean? I was one of them. I ain't gonna cap.
Nah, for real.
But I was, you know, at that point. But yeah, man, I don't think he did. But it ended up coming to a point, I believe, toward the end of 2014, because I went straight to Longview right after I graduated that fall from August, and I graduated in May, and I stayed there for about 4 years, just kind of working 3 jobs, still going to school. Man, it was pretty tough, but I still, you know, I've always been a grinder. I've always been someone that, look, I'm gonna make something of myself in life.
Yes, sir.
And so, you know, from there, probably I would say like the top of 2014, I ended up getting a letter in the mail by the government basically stating that I can no longer use FAFSA. And, you know, at that point, and I'm just telling y'all about like how I got to where I am now.
Yes, sir.
Trust me, it's leading up to that. Just hold on. But I got that letter in the mail, and I'm just, you know how, and I know some people that, you know, is watching this, and maybe even you, where you feel like you got a plan and it's mapped out and it doesn't go according to plan. You know what I mean?
1,000,000%.
That was kind of like that epiphany that I had at that moment, where it was just like, I got that letter and I'm reading it and I'm like, whoa, like, why? And so like, I really didn't realize it, like, why that happened until like maybe like a year or two ago. So apparently I did not know at that time they go according to your parents' your parents' income too as well. I did not know that. Wow. Now maybe y'all knew that. I just didn't.
Yeah, I didn't know that either, bro. I got my own FAFSA story. Yeah. Yes, sir.
So I did not know that at first, and so I think I had a conversation with someone that was kind of like in that realm, that kind of affiliates and works with the whole FAFSA thing, and she was like, yeah, they kind of go according to your parents' income. I said, well, you stop the noise right now, because I did not know that, but now it makes sense. But here's the thing, though. I'm glad it worked out that way, because now I wouldn't be doing the things that I'm doing now. So, and I'll get to that too as well. Let's keep going. Let's keep going with the story.
Yes,
but
sir.
Yeah, so ended up having to drop out of college. Thank God. Thank God. I dropped out with no debt because of FAFSA though. So that was good in itself. Yeah. Pretty much FAFSA. I had some scholarships. Just because with, you know, the city market job that I was working, it was still a lot of community service hours that I clocked up for the 5 years that I was there.
That's hard,
so the city ended up blessing me with, community service hours, which paid for basically that time. I'll say upwards from 2010 to the end of like 2013 with fast food. So that was a blessing in itself. But I started, a non-for-profit called Royalty Foundation, an LLC that I got. And this is where I was saying, like, those people that are like, I got an LLC.
Right.
But ain't making no money because I wasn't making nothing. Right.
Yeah,
I wasn't making jack. But it taught me a lot, man, like just kind of going through that journey, because I wanted to do exactly what I'm doing now. Like literally that's what, Royalty Foundation was for, was to help our age demographics, rather from age 18 to age 70, 75. I didn't care.
Yeah.
Because it's 60, 70-year-olds that still want, a lot in life too as well. We still work with, a lot of them. I think the oldest that me and my wife work with now is like 65.
Yeah.
So, it's still, older people out there, that seasoned people out there that, that still want more in life, man. They still got breath in them, man.
Yeah.
So that's what that's for. I didn't know exactly what I wanted to do. I just know I want to be able to help people. Like, again, this is where my heart lies. Like, genuinely, even if it's not for money, this is what I want to do. This is what I feel like God has put me on, earth to do, is to carry out that purpose, to just go out and help people. Be a disciple in so many ways, not just spiritually, but most people don't believe what I believe in. That's fine. But I can still help you.
Correct.
And, rather if it's finances, rather if it's, in self-development, financial literacy, just in different areas. But I remember I was kind of working on that. So 2014 through between 2016, I was kind of working at getting things going. So ended up getting the LLC for that. Actually still got papers on that today that I still pay for, because I want to do something different with that.
Yeah. Okay.
So that's a story in itself too as well. But I remember the top of 2016, man. 2016 just wasn't a great year for me. I ended up trying to do things. I was doing things on my own, trying to get Royalty Foundation, up and going. So I was going to different libraries, posting, stuff online, like, hey, I still got it too as well. Like, hey, meet me at the library, like, let's connect, just trying to network with people. Didn't know what I was doing. I ain't gonna lie, I didn't know what I was doing. Nobody showed up. Wow. I think I went on like a library tour, and I basically paid out of pocket to basically, set up some stuff, maybe just network with some people, and just tell them about my plan, like what I want to do. Didn't know nothing. But I paid out of pocket, man. Stuff like money that I didn't even have, paid out of pocket, and nobody showed up to not near one of them. And I think I went to like maybe 7 or 8 libraries over the Kansas City area.
I want to talk about that for a second, okay? Yeah. And I want you to walk the listeners through your mindset at that time, because most people who start a business don't work on the business. They don't think about the business. Whenever you start something new, there is this enthusiasm that you have, and you have these butterflies, right? And I'll give you a quick tip on butterflies. Whenever you feel those, that means that you should actually do the thing that's causing you to have butterflies, right? Yeah. Walk us through the state of mind that you had after renting out those libraries, right? And when you're at the libraries and nobody's there, give us maybe some of the confusion in your heart, in your mind. Give us some of the doubting thoughts that you may have had, like, is this going to work or not? Walk us through that, and walk us through how you overcame that.
Yeah, definitely. Honestly, man, I was still maybe the first 2 or 3 times where I rented out, and I still remember the libraries. I'm just thinking of it in my head, man. That's kind of crazy. But I remember the first 2 or 3 libraries that I went to. It was one off of Blue Ridge, not too far from the old Bannister Mall. Okay. Kind of like around the corner. It's actually right by my uncle's church, my uncle-in-law's church now. I'm still there. Mid-Continent. I went to all the Mid-Continent ones, but at that point, man, I don't know. It was still like an excitement for me that I was just doing something on my own. Like, it was just something to where it was just like, hey, this is a start of you know what, like I don't have to be tied to somebody
yeah.
or them signing my paycheck. Like now I just have the excitement of me starting my own. That's the first two though. That's the first maybe two or three. The first two or three kind of libraries that I went to. I was like, you know what? Nobody showed up. It's all good. You know, I still talked to people, but it wasn't about business still. Yeah. You know, had some connections. But around about, because I think I went to like maybe 7 or 8 libraries. I think between like the 4th and so forth, like those you know, thoughts that you were talking about, it was more so like, man, like, can this stuff happen? Like, and you know, God, I don't know exactly what I'm doing. I'm just being obedient because I know this is what you want me to do.
Right. And
sometimes when God wants you to do certain things, it may not look the way that you think it's supposed to look. It's not what it always seems. Sometimes you got to go through people not showing up in your life just for God to basically isolate you and show you the journey and what's to learn from that journey, if that makes sense. And so, yeah, man, it was a lot of doubts. It was a lot of pain. Because again, when you put time and effort into something and you don't see it like, you know, kind of manifest, man, it makes you feel some type of way. I mean, it doesn't even have to be a business. It could be a relationship. It could be a marriage. It could be whatever the case may be. And it all just kind of, all those thoughts, and it's just kind of like, well, where is the faith now that you had before you start? Yeah. You see what I'm saying? Yes, but, sir. You know, I've always had a relationship with God when I didn't even realize. I just had to cultivate it. And so at that point, man, that's when I spent time in my word. That's when I, you know, and even I at that point I was rooming with like a brother of mine, Cameron, actually. Okay. Cameron Martin, yeah. Nice. And so he'd be like, man, why you in your room? The light on is just quiet. Man, I was in that word, bro. I was in there just praying and you know, just really cultivating that relationship. Why? Because at that point I just needed something. Right? I needed something, and I didn't know exactly what it was, but again, man, I was just tired of working a job. I was just tired and I wanted something different. And so it got worse though, you know, because again, this is all like 2016. So like later that year, actually, I would say October, I ended up getting my car repossessed. And I always tell people, like, people that really, truly, genuinely know me, yes, sir, they know that I'm a big saver. Like, I really don't spend money unless I plan to do it. Like, don't let the jacket fool you. I planned this. Let the sweater and the kicks fool you. He talked about my shoes, but I was like, well, I call these hard work number 8s. I don't know. Like, but yeah, man, I've always, like, really planned to spend money. So when this time happened where my car got repossessed, man, I really went through it. Like, it was on a different level from when people didn't show up to those libraries. That was minuscule to what's going on at that time. So ended up getting, you know, my car repossessed. Then 2 months later, I was actually on my own because Cameron had moved out with his wife. So I had to, you know, get my own place. And I ended up getting evicted from my apartment. And it wasn't like I was spending money, bro. Like, I kid you not. It wasn't like I was spending money frivolously. It was just something that, it was a God thing. Like, and I understand that now more than ever. I didn't understand that then. I just trusted. Yeah. You know what I mean? And so, I mean, dude, like, it was crazy because at that point, I was like, God, I don't really know what's going on. Yeah. And you know I ain't spending no money, but it was just like, I honestly can realize what it was, the lesson, as I kind of got older, because at that point I was like, you know, 19, 20. And like I said, I was a big saver. So at that point, man, I had 10,000 plus in the bank. You know what I mean? And, you know, 19, 20 back in, you know,
2017, 18,
something like that.
Yeah, that's some
like,
bread.
You know what I mean? Like, that's 6 figures today's, you know, with not including inflation. Right. It's something.
That's solid.
You know, it ain't nothing to, you know, kind of sneeze at.
Most people don't have $1,000 to their name.
Yeah.
So the fact that you were that age with that level of financial discipline, right? Because it is a discipline. Yeah. Just to give you guys some quick financial tips, right? Absolutely. Like, budgeting leads to freedom. Because it allows you to know where each dollar is, and when you assign that dollar with a name, you can now have room for error if need be.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know what I mean?
Absolutely, man. And I had that. It was funny because I was at home with my mom before I moved out with, Cam.
Yes, sir.
And man, when I moved out, bro, I got some nice stuff. My mom was like, we wouldn't charge you more than that.
Yeah.
You can't, like literally everything was furnished, bro.
Wow, bro.
Everything, because I had saved. It was that
sir.
mindset. And literally, I had some dope stuff, and I saved for it. I worked for it though, But yeah, man, I ended up, just going through that time, and I was just like, God, like, why is this happening to me? Like, I remember the tears. I remember the time. Like, I can still feel it now, as if I was there, maybe a little over 5 years ago. And yeah, man, at that point, I went through that. I was homeless for a little bit until my sister and her then husband at that time, they took me in. Because at that time, mom and dad couldn't help. At that time, anybody else couldn't help, really, because they had their own things going on. So it was literally like a God lesson, to where it's like, sometimes he wants to isolate you so nobody can come rescue you.
Yeah. Nobody
can come rescue you, but that he can show you who you are in the midst of what you're going through.
Yeah.
Because if I heard something very, very very, very dope, it was like, if it doesn't challenge you, it doesn't change you.
Oh, million. Ooh.
Yeah, if it doesn't challenge you,
sit on that.
Yeah, man, if it doesn't challenge you, it doesn't change you.
Yeah.
And that literally is the epitome of like who Keith is at that point, because that's where things really started. It was like, yeah, I ain't finished school. Okay, who don't? Right. It's a lot of people that ain't got no degrees.
Yeah.
Then it's kind of like, right.
Yes, sir. Me too.
That. But it's also people that, started a business and failed.
Yeah.
I'm not the only one. But you go through an eviction time where it's just like, I don't even know where this even came from. That's where it's like, kind of like, God is just like, wow, like, what's happening here?
Yeah.
So I remember, just moving out, and my dad, I'll never forget this. This is like a time where it was eye opening for me. And so my dad and my uncle, I believe Alexis, my wife, they ended up coming to help, break everything down for my apartment. And I remember my dad almost tearing up, and he was like, well, why you didn't tell me? You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's pops.
Yeah, that's pops. Yeah. You know what I mean? And for anybody that don't know, me and my wife and just me, like, we are family-oriented people. Very much so family-oriented people, to where just like, that's our rock. You know what I mean?
Yes,
like,
sir.
That's my dad is my guy, man. Before the business, before anything else, like, I had men in my life, and my dad was at the top of that.
Wow.
And my uncle, I mean, I had a lot of men that I respect and admire. And Pops, man, I remember it looked like tears was about to flow through his eyes as I stood in my room at that point, and he was just like, why you didn't tell me?
Yeah.
And what my response was just like, God got me.
Yeah.
Like, I have to go through this.
Yes, sir.
And I just said that.
Wow.
You know what I mean? Like,
Absolutely.
I just said that. It wasn't nothing that, it was let me think about it response. It was just like, bro, my mouth just said that.
It. Speaking in spirit, bro. That's what it is.
Yeah, that's what I was like. The spirit just said, like, God got me. I have to go through this.
Right.
Bro, he about cried. And it kind of really made me cry after a while. And man, it was just, I could just feel it now, man. And so when I told him that, years later, or either, even some time later, he was like, now I see where your life is and what you went through. Now I know that you have that relationship with God, and I know that you trust him. Because again, at that time, I was really heavy into praying. I was really heavy into getting my word. I was really heavy into, building up my spirit, man, to where I can navigate through stuff like that.
Yes, sir.
I think if I never did that with Cam, and when we were together at that apartment, I feel like I would have emotionally been a wreck if I didn't really kind of cultivate that relationship. But yeah, man, it was still tough. I moved in with my sister and her then husband now. I mean, at that point, and man, I was sleeping on an air mattress, man, for about a year or two. Probably about a year or two. And it kind of got a little bit, worse than that, because where we were with my sister, I think the pipes ended up busting a couple times actually.
Wow.
To where like, bro, it was like literally almost up to our knees. Like it was really bad.
Wow.
And yeah, man, it was basically like I had a boat in my room
because
I was
crazy.
Like, no, seriously, like I kid you not, like Alexis would come over and just like kind of see that and see my air mattress and be like, "You good?" Like, yeah, bro. Like literally, it was like a boat. Literally like a boat.
Literally floating on water.
On water, bro. That's how high it got. And I kid God as my witness. Like it literally like right here, bro. Like
that's a couple feet of water.
Almost a couple feet of water, literally. And man, I just remember that, man. And I just remember crying and stuff like that. And at that point I did have a bed, but it was in storage because I had moved.
Yeah.
But at that point I thought that I would, kind of do whatever I could, get a job real quick to where, I can just move out really quick, but it just didn't happen that way. But yeah, man, it was rough nights. Like I said, tears. But I still trust God, bro. I still have faith, and it worked out, man. So long story short, I ended up praying and just asking God, like, send the right people. Send the right people, and they don't have to necessarily open up the door for me. They can just open it and tell me like, hey, go through that door.
Yeah.
And I'll run through it. You know what I mean? And so lo and behold, I'll never forget it, bro. Like my life changed April 20th, 2019 at 3:00. I remember it like it was yesterday.
Wow.
And I say that because I was going to Oak Park Mall just to get a shirt for church. It was on a Saturday. That next following day, we actually had a church event. So I was like, okay, we were wearing a specific color. I think it was like maybe like a blue or jean or something like that. And I was like, okay, cool. So I'm going to, just go get a shirt for church, whatever the case may be. And I remember like being on the phone with my mom. That's how I remember the time. People are like, how you remember that? I was actually on the phone with my mom because I had arrived there maybe between like 2:20ish, 2:30ish. But I kind of walked around the store before I got into H&M at the bottom. So I'm on the phone with my mom. I hang up with my mom and I'm like, okay, I'll holler at you later. And then that's how I saw the time. And so by the time that I can kind of look up from, kind of hanging up with her, all I hear was, hey, nice shoes. Didn't even know. And people that really know me, I love shoes.
Yeah.
I love clothes.
You got on some clean Timbs that you ain't able to see right now,
Look, I love shoes. I love clothes, food, and basketball. Like that's the way to my heart, and helping people. Like those top 5 things literally control my life.
Wow.
And God, of course, at the top of that.
Absolutely.
But those things really control my life. Like that's literally every day I'm operating in, if not 3 out of 5, 4 out of 5.
Those are his values. Listen,
yes.
When you guys can understand what your values are, there is a different level of liberation that comes with that. Yeah. What his values are going to look different than what my values are, right? There's a couple of them that are similar, but you have to identify what it is for you. Go back and watch or listen to the episode called UOU. Yeah. What does that day look like for you? Because those values are going to look different than your spouse. Yeah. Right?
Absolutely.
And there's a couple of them that are the same.
Yep.
Right? Yeah. But she needs her own thing. And you need your own thing so that you can be fulfilled, so that you can go out and live life on purpose. Yeah, man. And that's great, man. And we have more, values too: faith, family, freedom, travel, health, stuff like that. But yeah, man, like I ended up hearing that, like, hey, nice shoes. And it literally still gives me a breath of fresh air when I think about it, because I still tell this story to people. They like, hey man, well, how did you get to where you where you are now? Absolutely. Just kind of like what you said. Okay, let me walk you through it. Right. Let me walk you through it. But this guy that actually complimented my shoes, his name was David Park. Okay. David actually. Yeah. Really good friends with David, actually. 100%. Been able to talk to him, been able to, have conversations with him too as well. Very wise guy. Very wise guy. Shout out to David, man. If he listens, man, that's my guy. Super down to earth guy, man. And yeah, man, he complimented me on my shoes. And I
people that really know me too as well. I always say like people that really know me. People that really, y'all about to know me too as well.
Yes,
but,
sir, absolutely.
Like, true people that surround me, like, they know I'm very much so introverted, bro. Very much so introverted. I'm not, people like, are you serious? Because, like, they see me, in different environments, and they're like, no, I would have never thought you're introverted, but I'm really an introverted person. I love to be by myself. That's how I recharge.
Yep.
And so, man, but it was at this point where, when he complimented me on my shoes, we just started to have a conversation just like this. And I started to tell him literally everything of what I'm sharing with you guys. I'm sharing it with David. Wow. And David's just like, this is actually kind of crazy. But I noticed that he was listening. Yeah. And he started to ask me, just different questions. And he was like, man, I feel like I'm being punked right now. Like, literally, that's what he said. Because I told him about, Royalty Foundation, what I wanted to do to help people. And he was like, I feel like I'm being punked right now. And he literally did say that, though. But yeah, man, so we started to have conversations. And the best part about that was, so remember when I told y'all, at this point where I'm floating on beds and I'm, kind of got my air mattress and all I needed was the little sticks. So
the little paddle boards. Yeah,
paddle boards, man. So in that time, bro, like, I was working at Quest late nights in Lenexa, me and my wife, and we were just like, it has to be something different. Because we knew we wanted kids. We knew we wanted to, we had purpose. We knew that it was just more to just dealing with specimens. Right, for sure. And going to work late nights. We were working 10 hours, 3 hours mandatory overtime. Oh boy. Man, it was crazy. And we were like, we can't live like this though, because even if we had kids, it's like, hey, like, the divorce rate is high now because of stuff like that. Because you would have had to be, there and, working in during the day, and I would have had to work at night, and we would have had to do that. But like, how can we work with each other in our marriage? Correct. So, we've thought about these things. And so I'm talking to David, man, and he starts to talk about, Paul and, all of these men that he have gotten connected to. Yes, sir. And I was just like, I feel like I'm being punked right now because I literally just asked God, send me people. Yeah. So this is kind of like a pause, because sometimes when you ask God to send you something, you got to make sure that you're ready for it. Right? Talk to him, bro. Not just that you're ready for it, but it's just like you got to put yourself in a position, because you never know, the person that you need can literally come to you tomorrow and not even know it. But are you in position for it? And
what's the expectation? Yeah. Right? Is that your expectation, bro? Yeah. Like that's true. This wristband on my arm, I wear it every day, and it says put on the full armor of God, right? And the significance of this is far beyond what most listeners will actually be able to comprehend, because only a select few human beings on this earth have this wristband. And it means that you are dedicated to service. It means that you are not focused on self. That means that you're willing to go out on the front lines and serve people, that you're willing to do the deep work that you and I have both done, and that we continuously do every day, and that we will continue to do because that's our life. We're either growing or we're dying. Right? There is no stagnation, bro. There is no stagnation. If you are listening to me right now, right? Listening to us, think about your life over the last 5 to 10 years. Yeah. Where you are today is the result of decision making and thought process over the course of that time. Right. Do you value where you are? Yeah. And if you don't, I would challenge you to shift your thought process and value not necessarily every aspect of your circumstances, right? But the fact that you can even hear and comprehend what I'm saying. Yeah. If you have nothing else to be grateful for, that within itself is priceless.
Yeah. Man, it is. I mean, that's just tough too as well, man, because everything that you're saying is so true. Because that literally where I was in, like, that was the mindset that I was in. Because again, like, I was praying for that. Right. You know what I mean? Like, you talked about expectation. Yes, sir. Most people ain't ready for that. Like, some people ask for certain things, and then when they get it, they drop the ball. They fumble the bag, so to speak.
Right.
You know what I mean? Because it turns out to be something that you thought it really was, but it really isn't. But I was in expectation of that. I just didn't know how it was going to come.
Yeah.
So here's the kicker with that too as well, because as I was talking to David, I felt in my spirit like I need to press in.
Yeah.
I need to press in. I was like, I know for sure this is different. It's a feeling I've never felt before. I know that's my spirit. I trust my spirit. And I'm like, it's something different about this guy.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I have to dive deeper into this. Like, it's a great feeling. My spirit is jumping, and I'm like, yeah. So, I mean, bro, I honestly pursued him. I pursued him, and I was like, hey, don't really know you, but I gotta know you. I gotta know your mindset, because you can just tell. I mean, dressed pretty nice. You can tell, like, Oak Park, and where I was living at that point, I was living over there by Purcell.
Okay.
At that point, so driving to Oak Park Mall, is
two
different.
totally different worlds,
two totally,
bro.
exactly.
Yes, sir.
And
yes,
so,
sir.
and at this time, man, I've went, and this is so dope, man. I've been to Oak Park prior to April 20th, 2019, a cajillion times.
Wow.
A cajillion times, bro. I can like tell you how Oak Park looked like the back of my hand, like I was there.
Wow.
Like, that's the crazy part is, and so sometimes, God lines things up when it's the right appropriate time.
Yeah.
It's just, can you be ready for that? Right? And so, man, yeah, like I pursued him, and I was just like, hey, I just gotta know your mindset. Like, these people you're talking about, like, how can I meet these people?
Yeah.
I don't care what I gotta do, but I gotta meet these people. So at this point, Alexis and I, we were dating at that point. And so I called her like, hey, I met this guy. He talked about, how his wife, walking away from her job at 28. I'm like, what?
Yeah.
Like, Samantha's 4 months older than me.
Wow.
And you're telling me that, she walked away from her job. And at that point, my birthday's May 7th, so I'm turning 28 2 weeks after I met him. And I'm like, you mean to tell me your wife? And he was like, yeah, and so I was like, bro, I'm so.
Yeah.
And I was just like, I trust my spirit. And so, yeah, man, they eventually, I'll say, convinced him to sit down with, Alexis and I. And, man, it was so, like, genuine, because they got a chance to get to know us. They didn't necessarily take us under their wing right off bat and started to show us, how they've been able to create the results, because they were so further ahead than us. Like, again, we still had debt at this point,
right.
And so from there, man, they got a chance to get to know us, man. It took a while for them to even sit down with us, so I valued their time.
Right.
And they got a chance to get to know us, man, and they showed us eventually how they were able to create some results, man. And now here, debt-free, first people in our family to be debt-free. First people in our family, and that's not us thing. Yeah. It's not a David thing. It's a God thing.
Yeah.
God sending people to actually help you get to where you want to go. And so we take no credit for that.
Right.
It's a God thing, because, again, all of what I went through, with the, the eviction, with, me getting my car repossessed, it was more so kind of like, nah, it's cool. Like, you here right now. But I'm going to make the person who you need to be later on down the line. Just trust me. And I remember him saying that, and I was like, okay, God, I trust you. So David and Samantha became like our mentors, just in every area of life. We love our parents, but at the end of the day, our parents can only take us so far, because they're not in that realm.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? As far as just like business and, teaching financial literacy, and, that's no knock to them. Our parents did the best that they could, and, we appreciate that.
Absolutely.
But, God sends the right people in your life for a reason, or sometimes even for a season. And so, just with David and Samantha, they're in our life, forever, man. Like, we're doing life with them. And so they've taught us so much, from financial literacy to, helping us in our marriage outside of our family. Man, we've seen them work with thousands and hundreds of people and just give genuinely, and then they have their own faith base too as well, to where it's just like they believe in God. So it was easy to like really like trust them. It was easy to really you know, kind of get behind, you know, their purpose too as well.
Right.
And so like, you know, now here today, man, like everything we've learned from them, we're going back and we're teaching other people, bro. Like we're going back and we're teaching other people, and we're going, you know, all in on that, man. And so like, again, man, I truly believe that when you set yourself, when you set your goals and you're focused on other people, God will bless you automatically, because you're not focusing, you know, on yourself, but you're focusing on the betterment of somebody else. That's discipleship.
Yes,
you know,
sir.
we talked about that earlier. And so, I mean, it's just, dude, like, now that I'm kind of, you know, telling you about my story, so just with the shoes, I've never wore those shoes, but, you know, once I reach a certain goal, like I'm going to get a glass shoebox and I'm going to actually have him sign his name. And then actually that be a legacy. So like when you walk in my house, that's the first thing you see. And it's going to be a scripture next to it. I haven't decided which one it'll be right next to it.
Yeah.
But, and a little light, you know, I got to be extra.
Oh, for sure, bro. You got to put it on display.
Yeah, you got to put it on display. But, yeah, man. And the crazy part is I've maybe only wore those shoes like at that point, maybe like 3 times.
Wow.
It was the all white cocaine Hirachis. Kind of new.
Yeah. Man.
Have never worn them since the time that I talked to him. Never put them on my feet.
Still to this day.
Still to this day.
Wow.
Still in a box, and that's going to be the legacy that I want to pass down to my kids, to say, hey, these shoes is why we can do what we can do. Not just God, but God sending the right people to now change the trajectory that the life I never had that you can. You know, and so I can't wait to do that, you know, and it's going to be epic to do that, man. It's going to be very emotional because...
it's making me emotional, man, just thinking about it.
It's going to be very emotional, because even in the midst of me helping people and being there, and you know this too as well, the ups and downs and the ebbs and flows of that is just like, when we get to that point and I'm able to buy that glass shoebox, man, I'm going to lose it. I'm going to lose it, because it's just, it means a lot.
Yes, sir.
You know, so, yeah, man, that's kind of my story, man. So that's who I am, man. I'm a fighter. I'm God-led. I'm you know, a man of God. I'm a wonderful, I say I'm a wonderful, my wife said that too. Wonderful husband.
There you go.
Take care of my baby. But yeah, man, I'm also a son, an uncle, a devoted son, a devoted uncle, a devoted mentor, you know, a devoted entrepreneur. Man, the title goes on and on, but you know, first, you know, definitely God led. I would say that for sure.
Yes, sir.
That's who I am, and that's why I actually really want to be. Without that, I'm nothing. So,
Keith Kimber, you guys. You know what's so dope about everything that you said, bro. And I want to unpack this, but we'd be here for hours and hours, bro. Like, I want you guys to take what he stated, right? This should be an episode where you listen one time through, you listen another time so you can pick up these nuggets, right? And you can go and apply these things. Your level of exposure will determine your level of success. Think about everything that Keith has shared today. You know, you go from getting your car repoed to being homeless, you know, to moving in with your sister and her husband, you know, having a roommate, and then, like, again, having the eviction. Like, there's a lot of people that don't know what having an eviction feels like, you know, like I'm one of those people. I've never been evicted, but I do know what it feels like to be hungry. You know, I do know what it feels like to miss meals, you know, like the fact that you went through all that at a very young age, though. Like, keep that in mind, guys. Most people would have folded. Most people would have crumbled. Most people would have made excuses and quickly started pointing fingers like this and this person and that person is the reason why I'm in this situation. And at no point through you sharing your testimony, right, did you ever blame anybody else, bro?
Absolutely not.
And I have the utmost respect for that, because you stayed the course.
I did.
You stayed consistent, right? And during those times when things were hard, when it feels like I'm never going to get out of this, it feels like quicksand. That's what it is, right? It feels like somebody is holding you under the water and drowning you, and you feel like you can't even breathe. But then you get to a point to where you're making quality decisions even in the midst of those storms, right? This is a teaching point. I want you guys to learn something right now.
Yeah.
You stay consistent through the storm.
Yeah.
Still in your word.
Yeah.
Still speaking affirmations, right? Still visualizing on a regular basis where you want it to be, who you want it to be, who you were aspiring to be. And that aspiration is never going to stop, right?
Nah, man.
And I know that all to be true because you're sitting here on my couch telling me and the thousands and thousands of people that are going to be watching this and listening to this, like, you just explained it all.
Yeah.
If y'all listen, the keys are in everything that he stated.
Yeah.
And this is why I asked you that one question at the beginning that has unpacked all of this. Because when you think about successful individuals, they aren't better than anybody else. No. They just make quality decisions.
Right. That's it.
Consistently.
That's it. That's
consistently.
It. Yeah. That's it, man. And now, one thing that I would say too as well is that, like I mentioned, you got to be ready for what you pray for.
Yes,
you got to be ready for what you ask God for, because if he send it to you and you're not ready for it, it can be more damaging than it can be good.
Yes, sir.
And so like now, I would say, that I was in position for that. Like even your surroundings, I always tell people too as well, like you got to watch your surroundings too as well, because, those very people that's around that, that they know you have a dream, or they know that, you're going places. People can sense that, man.
Yeah,
for
sure.
People can really sense that just with conversation. Oh, you think you too good, huh? You know what I mean? Or, nah, I don't know, that probably ain't gonna happen. Or, even some people listen to their parents and don't even let your parents stop you from getting to where God is ordaining you to go. Perfect example, when I basically met David and Samantha, like, people choose, familiarity over experience.
Correct.
You know what I mean? And I always like to use, kind of like an example. Like, let's just say, you go skydiving, Let's say it's you and somebody you trust, rather if it's your mom, your dad, and it's another skydiving instructor that has 10,000 successful jumps.
Yes, sir.
Right? And of course, the person that you're going with, rather if it's mom, you guys, it's your first time, you guys 30,000 feet in the air, and I usually ask a question. I'm like, okay, well, who are you going to jump out of that plane with? Are you going to jump out of the plane with, the person you trust the most, which is, in this case, your mom,
right,
who has 0 successful jumps? Or are you going to, jump out of the plane with the skydiving who has 10,000 successful jumps, that knows exactly what to do in the air when something happens?
Correct.
I don't know about you, but I'm going to go with that guy.
Oh, every day of the week, bro.
Right.
Yes, sir.
Even if it's my wife, I'm like, hey, I love you with all my heart, but I see you on the other side.
100%.
I'm going I'm going over here. But you'll be surprised that most people don't really unpack that, and they don't analyze kind of like that whole scenario, because most people be like, I'm going with my mom all day.
Yeah.
So now you're choosing familiarity over experience. But in my case, that's what stops a lot of people from getting to where they want to go, because they listen to their friends. They listen to their mom. They listen to their dad, when sometimes God gave you a mindset to think for yourself and be an independent thinker. Right? And so I honestly believe that is one of the things today that, kind of got us on the trajectory of where we are today, is that I was an independent thinker, because there was times I could have listened to my mom and dad.
Yes, sir.
But I listened to my spirit and say, nah, I think I need to go ahead and pursue this. Or I need to go ahead and listen to people that, retired at 28 or, working at 58. And like I said, nothing is wrong
Correct.
with my parents. They hardworking people.
Yeah.
Hardworking people, love my dad, love my mom. But and even now to this day, they respect it. They're like, hey, we understand. We couldn't take you to a certain point. We can only take you here.
Yeah. Even
though your mom said it, we know you want to go here. So big up to my parents about that, because later on they don't see the vision at first.
Correct.
People around you don't see the vision at first.
Yep.
That's why you have to listen. You have to you have to be an independent thinker to say, okay, what is my circle like? Just like that Nipsey Hussle quote, if you look around at your circle of friends, they're not necessarily like, if they're not really uplifting you or encouraging you, you don't have a circle of friends, you're in a cage. Ooh. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
like that's so dope because
that's a word, bro.
Like that's true though. Yeah. You know what I mean? Because some people allow what other people say and do dictate where they need to go. So that literally is one of the biggest decisions that I've ever made, with just saying, you know what, like, hey, I love you guys. I know you guys have, you know, again, I grew up in a church, you know, as you probably can tell. But if you guys trust the morals and values that you guys placed in me, then trust that I'll make the right decision.
There you go, bro.
You see what I'm saying?
That's significance within itself. Yeah. And everything that you're saying, I want you guys to hear him. The people around you can only take you as far as they currently are. Yep. Right?
Absolutely.
There are people in my life, and I'm naturally introverted too, bro. Yeah. Like we've worked on ourselves a lot, you know.
We have.
No, seriously.
Absolutely.
You know, and a lot of that has come from interacting with people. Yeah. Like, I don't even have to be a psychologist and have a degree, bro. Like, I have real life experience. Yes. I have a PhD in life. Yeah. You know, that's and you feel me? And what's significant about all this is, like, if you grasp that understanding that the people around me can only get me to where they've gone, and you're not content, and you feel this stirring on the inside of, like, man, I need something better. I know that there's more to life than just waking up, punching the clock, getting a paycheck, trying to squeeze all the fun into the weekend, right? How about you treat every day like it's Friday, right? Yeah. How about you treat every day like it's Saturday? It's a different mindset. It's a different perspective. And if you want different results, you have to be willing to get out of your comfort zones and pursue people that have those results. Yes. I told my wife this. I said, babe,
that's so good.
I personally, and if you don't have the right ears to hear what I'm saying, you're going to take this offensive. I don't want to be around people that don't have a dream, bro.
Yes.
I don't want to be around cowards. I don't want to be around people that just want to spectate, right? I don't want to be around beggars, because the reality is, if you're picking up what we're putting down, right, it's not a matter of, like,
that's so good.
It's not a matter of, like, how can you help me? It's like, what did you do to get there? What state of mind do you have? Right. Like, just tell me, how did you get to here? Right? But then also, how can you potentially help me? And not like, how can you help me, but how can I help you? Because if you focus on serving other people, right, oftentimes that relationship is going to be mutually beneficial. And if it's not, then you just need to part ways.
Yeah, and you're going to know too as well, man.
Quickly.
You're going to know too as well, man. And yeah, just with that, I'm sorry, what question was that again?
You're good. I was just making a statement, and we're just sitting here flowing, you know. But I will pose a question to you though, like, so right now you are 32.
Yeah,
is that correct? Okay, so, like, let's go back 10 years, bro. 22 years old. Yeah. Knowing what you know now, the wisdom that you've developed, right? The exposure that you've had, because exposure is everything. Yeah. Because you don't know what you don't know.
Yeah.
You talked about being at Paseo and then going to Overland Park, bro. Like, my mama, she live on 22nd and Hardesty right now. So my mama's still living in the hood. We moved out of the hood. Right. She went back to the hood, you know. So I go from living in the hood to Lenexa, Kansas. So Quest, was it Quest Diagnostics?
Yep.
Okay, so, like, I lived on 78th and Quivira, bro. So I was right there in those apartments. At 19, I had different exposure. I'm like,
yeah, it's different.
You won't see one house out here that's boarded up.
Yep.
Right? Oh. You won't see one homeless person on this corner.
Yep.
And it's because there is a level of excellence that is required.
Yeah.
And I got a dope episode coming just about that within itself and how, you know, I was able to walk away from working a job at 25 years old. I'm 26 now.
That's dope.
And when I go back to those earlier 20 of Ricardo, I knew that I was going to be done working for somebody else at 25. Now, how it looked was going to be different because most people are like, there's no way you can retire at 25 years old.
Trust me.
The reality is there's so many people that have, not at that specific age, but way sooner than quote unquote retirement age. Bro, the reality is that thought process needs to be removed from everybody's consciousness because we were taught as kids, you retire at 65. That's an arbitrary number and date on the calendar, right? You said you and your wife work with people that are that age. What came to my mind as I was just picking up whatever, everything that you were saying, a winner is going to win no matter how old they are, bro. No matter how, and a loser is going to lose.
Yeah, she a winner too. I love
talk about it, bro. But let's dive into that. Like 10 years ago, knowing what you know now, what advice would you give that 22-year-old Keith?
Man, for sure, I would read more. I didn't understand the importance of reading. Getting around like millionaires, six-figure earners, like you said, like kind of going back to what you said, and I definitely answered, but it was really, really key where you were just like, when we grew up, because again, I didn't grow up in the best of neighborhoods too, just like you, so we relate a lot on that.
100%.
But it's just like it's crazy seeing it from two different sides of the spectrum.
Yeah.
Everybody don't get that, you know, that kind of, I would say that blessing. I'm gonna just leave it at that blessing, because you and I, we see two different sides. Like we grew up like this is literally like what I gotta look forward to for the rest of my life.
Yeah.
Seeing houses boarded up, seeing homeless people on the street or whatever the case may be, or seeing like, hey, my kids are gonna go here, my kids are gonna. But when you drive across state line to Kansas, and you see these houses, you like, it's kind of far fetched. You know what I mean? But
figment of our imagination, bro.
Yeah, and it's just like, first I would like to say, you're looking at two examples here where it's like you can go do the things that you want to do or get to where you want to go if you're willing to do the work.
Do the work,
right? All you have, and that's pretty much what you were saying, and I appreciate that because we just did the work. That doesn't make us better than anybody. It doesn't, matter, because only thing that changes our address, maybe our bank accounts. But
definitely,
right,
tremendous.
But I'm still Keith.
Like,
and people see it like, oh dang, it's something different about me. I'm like, bro, nothing changed with my address. But I appreciate that because I was just willing to do the work. But what I would tell and just kind of get into, just your question to answer that, as I started to make that adjustment from, hey, this mentality of you go to school, you go to college just to get good grades. And honestly, that's something I didn't even want to do. I didn't even really want to go to college. But again, where our society, what society paints is like, hey, you got to do that. Because that's just the reality of what everybody's supposed to do. That's what we have been taught. That's what our moms and them saying like, hey, you just got to do something. You got to go to school. And so when you get around people that is millionaires and six-figure earners, they give you a different mindset.
Absolutely.
And I come to realize it was very uncomfortable.
Yeah, for sure. It's
I'm
stretching.
sure. Yeah, very stretching,
it's
man.
Stretching.
Because if they really truly care about you, they're going to pull it out of you.
Yeah.
Because they see potential in you. But again, don't ask God for something that you're really not ready for.
He'll give it to you, and it'll be an overflow to the point. If you're not ready for it, you're going to squander it. And you're going to be like, well, I know I asked for it, but that's just too much. When it's just like, no, that's where you really need to press in. Absolutely.
And that's what we did.
Yes, sir.
You know what I mean? And that's actually how we got a chance to build this brotherhood, because we decided to make that decision and get uncomfortable. And like I mentioned earlier, like if it doesn't challenge you, it doesn't grow you. And so just from there, man, I would tell myself, I did not know millionaires, like, they keep a book in their hand. Like, they keep a book with them. And most people don't really realize that. Why? Because you're not around millionaires. But they are so simplistic. They're simple people. Like, you know, David would never, you know, say anything, but, you know, we've had conversations and I'm like, I want that.
Not for sure.
Like, I want, like, legit conversations, bro. Like, I want that. I want those results. So what am I going to do? I'm going to listen. I'm going to listen to people who have the results that you want. That's a teaching lesson right there too as well. I would tell my 22-year-old self is network more and find someone who have the results that you want in life. Number 3, I would read more. I would read a lot of, you know, self-help books, a lot of self-growth books, business books. I mean, if you know, have a different, you know, maybe arena that you want to go for, of course it doesn't have to be business.
Correct.
But still read, you know what I mean? Like, know exactly, you know, who you want to become in the process, but also know your craft. Like, study your craft. So
that's a gem, guys.
Yeah, definitely study your craft. Read. I would also listen to podcasts. Always keep positive stuff.
Yes, sir.
If you continue to listen to this, listen to that, listen to this, listen, like, most people don't know, but like, your mind can become so clouded with stuff like that. And if you don't, and especially if you're unemotionally stable, it's really going to get to the point where it's just like, okay, you be positive at one moment, but your emotions is somewhere else. Or your emotions is somewhere else. You want to be positive, but you just like, my emotions is running high.
Right.
So I'm just going to be negative. So, you know, it's really narrowing down on what are you listening to? And not just what are you listening to, but are you actually applying it to your life?
Right.
Like, even with the Bible or something like that, like what our church do, they have like a daily bread. Like, it's from 3 months increments. So it's something every single day for a span of 3 months.
Wow.
So I read that on my break and I'm just like, okay, most people, I've learned this through millionaires too as well. Like, when you're reading, don't read just to read.
Yes, sir.
Don't listen just to listen, but like, read and listen for a purpose. Like,
yes,
what can you actually apply to your life at that point from what you're reading and what you're listening to? And most importantly, how can you apply to your life every single day?
Correct.
Now, we do get that it's not going to be a change overnight.
Absolutely not.
It's perfection, not it's progression, not perfection.
Absolutely.
So, you know, I would definitely tell my 22-year-old self, because I hated reading. Just being honest, rarely open my textbooks. But I did not like reading. I really didn't listen to podcasts. I didn't listen to anything positive. And the best thing that I would say now, again, that I would tell my 22-year-old self is associate. But don't associate just to associate. Associate with people that can better your life. Associate with people that want to see you win, but also associate with people that, you know for sure. Like, for sure, I want their life. Like, I would switch their life for my life in a heartbeat. Like, legit. Like, and if you don't have people to where you can be around, and you know for sure you would not change it, and I mean in every area, from marriage, finances, don't just do it because they got money. Money isn't everything. Trust me, it does nothing but bring problems. Right? It's not about money. It's about the characteristics, the morals, the values that this person have, you know, in their life that you would also want to switch lives with. Not just financially, but literally all of that. You know, and I found a ton of people. That I learned from, that I'm connected to, that, you know, we're in a community with, and, you know, that we can actually not just learn from, but, man, it's just like, they literally have our best interest and want to see us succeed. So I would definitely tell my 22-year-old self, and I wish I would have met them at 22. Because, dog, it'd be a wrap. Like, I feel like I would be further along. But then again, that's God's timing. So I met him at the right time, though.
God's timing, bro.
Yeah, it's God's timing, man. I met him when I needed to meet him. So
you did indeed, and everything that you said is way deeper than surface level. Okay. God gave us 2 eyes, right? We have 2 ears, we have 1 mouth, but we also have a third eye. We have our mind's eye. And when you can see with that mind's eye, right? When you can listen to that inner voice, right? When you understand energy and frequency, you will become more enlightened, and more than anything, you will start to identify who you are and realize that the worldly things don't bring you value. It may bring you happiness, which is temporary. Happiness is based on happenings, right? So in order for me to be happy, this thing has to transpire. You know what I'm saying?
That's dope.
So when you can, and everything that you talked about had to do with emotions and state of mind and thought processes. If you're on this emotional roller coaster, your life is going to be in shambles.
Yes.
And if you're listening to this and you agree with that, analyze what's been going on.
Yes.
I tell people this, man. I've narrowed my life so much that if anything negative is transpiring, it's because I have something to do with that.
Yeah.
Right?
Absolutely.
We've been able to like guard our ear gate, our eye gate, what we say so strongly that the outside influences don't affect us. Right? And not saying that you can't just like hear something. It's what you do with what it is that you're receiving, right? And when it's high level conversations like this, bro, it's easy for an individual to hear what we're saying but not feel what we're saying and grasp what we're saying.
Absolutely.
You talked about college too, right?
Yeah.
Most people are still going to college to try to figure out what they want to do. And that should not be the question. You know, the question should be, who do I want to be? Not what do I want to do? What type of lifestyle do I want to live? And when you ask yourself those questions, the conversation changes. Right? I literally remember my counselor in school saying, you know what? I know you like fitness and stuff. You should be a PE teacher. Bro, what? Oh my gosh.
Like,
and no shade to PE teachers. That doesn't define you, right? That is a title.
Right.
But it was all going based off of these are how decisions are made. Okay. How much money does that occupation pay?
Yeah, absolutely.
Right?
That is true.
What am I actually going to be doing? Do I like it? Do I love it? No. You have to get to a point to where you're not making decisions solely off of do I like it and do I love it? What result am I looking for? What's going to help me get that outcome? And then let me press in. The reality is that's going to be uncomfortable because you're not going to have skill sets. Anytime you start something new, you're going to suck, right? You're going to suck, and it's okay to suck, bro. A mentor of mine once said, like, fail forward. Fail forward, because in that failing, right, you're going to start to learn. Even with what I just said, in that failing, you're going to start to learn. So there are lessons in that. Not that you are a failure.
Right.
You are learning so that you can become. Right. And then when you become, now you are. You feel me? And we were talking about this, off camera, but like you were saying, like I'm him. And that state of mind, like me, bro, my wife, I promise you, she'll be like, I catch you talking to yourself all the time. I'll walk past a mirror and I'll just look at myself and be like, bro, you a freaking beast.
Bro, you
a beast. You feel me?
Talk your stuff.
You know what I mean? Like talk that stuff. I don't care if anybody is around. I'm talking to myself in that manner because I'm reminding myself constantly throughout the day. Throughout the day, daily. Not worrying about what happened in the past, bro. You can't change any of that. What can I focus on right now, and what's my next step?
That's good.
You know, so I appreciate you, bro, like sharing everything that you've shared up until this point, giving us an in-depth insight into who Keith is. And this isn't even all of it. You know, this isn't even all of it. And this isn't going to be the last time he's on the show either. So,
thank you. That's cool.
Yeah, 100%, bro, because this here is pure, genuine love and energy. You know what I'm saying? Nothing is forced. Our conversations, even off camera, bro, are so genuine and so high level that I wish every single conversation could be recorded. You know what I mean?
No,
so what I would like for the listeners to take from this is a word from you, right? What is something that you will want to leave them with so that they can practically transform?
Definitely, man, for those that want to be entrepreneurs, I would say, man, you gotta have, like you said, that I'm him, I'm her mentality.
Yeah.
First and foremost, you know what I mean? Of course, everybody doesn't believe, in God, and that's okay.
Absolutely.
I'm not. We're not. I can say I think I speak for my
100%.
brother here.
Talk to me.
We're not trying to push that on anybody.
Yeah.
By no means. This is just our experience. This is my experience. For me, it was God in there too as well, to really cultivate and really bring forth that mentality.
Yeah.
Because I feel like if it wasn't a God thing that gave me that I'm him mentality, it'd be pure arrogance. You know what I mean? It'd be pure like, oh, you just think you all that. Like, nah, I'm all that in him though.
Right.
You know what I mean? And that's where that I'm him mentality comes from. And I'm not saying that, you guys you gotta get arrogant. Like,
absolutely not.
Please hear me out. Like, that's definitely not, what I'm saying, but you have to get that confidence in anything that you do. It doesn't matter if you a janitor, man, you like, man, the way I mop these floors, boy, can't nobody mop a floor like me. How I put that stuff down, how I do my thing, my 1-2 swipe.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Hey, bro, like, you be him in that, but you gotta have that confidence in order to continue to keep yourself going. Why? Because nobody else is. You see what I'm saying? Like,
yes, sir. You
may have your parents, you may have certain friends that still is like, they're wanting to push you to go, but at the end of the day, you're not going to always have that. It's going to be times where you're going to need that yourself to be like, you know what? Like the car conversations you had.
Yeah.
Sometimes, bro, I got to be in the car. I'm like, man, I'm him.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Despite of what's going on in my life, despite of, things that's happening, those ebbs and flows that we talked about, I'm still him. And I can get through that with not just God, but just the confidence that I have to actually get through that. You know what I mean? Like, even the mindset that we talked about, like, hey, even though you don't see it, you still got to know that you're already there.
100%.
And like, that's the conversation we have off camera, and like you said, it was fine. It was a great conversation, but that's where that confidence comes from. You know what I mean? You got to know that you're already there, even when you're not there. That's very, very important. If you can't see yourself there right now, then you got to do some reflecting. You got to do some going back and adjusting. Yeah. Try, fail, and adjust. You know what I mean? And apply. Because after you adjust, you gotta, after you do all of the try, fail, and adjusting, you gotta apply, and you gotta go back to the drawing board. Sometimes that's okay, but you gotta have the confidence, man, and check your association. Your association means everything. It really is. Your association is really a reflection of who you really are. Think about it. If you're around, let's just say, young ladies, if you're around a lot of young ladies, there's one young lady that is, smart, like she's good, but her friends is basically, they don't fit the part of how she actually act. And you like, you know what I mean? Like, you're around these certain amount of people, I would have never thought, you know what I mean? But if you think about it, people indirectly, like, is that who you are? Yep. You see what I'm saying? Like, just being honest here, because we having honest conversations. This is fill your cup, so I'm just filling your cup right now.
Come on, talk to him, bro. Talk to him.
But I mean, by default, though, that is kind of pretty much what it is. It's just like you start to think, like, well, okay, is that person who he is based on the people that you're around? And so, like, it's literally simple. You have to check your association, because you are who you hang around.
Yeah. If
you're around people that don't mean any good, they're thieves, or they're killers, or whatever the case may be, eventually you're going to be that. Naturally. And by default, because that's all you're around, that's all you see.
Correct.
That's the product of your the product of your environment. And so, again, you got to check your association. You got to have the confidence. Check your association. And then 3, I would definitely say, listen. You got to have internal growth. Right? Yes, that's not just to be an entrepreneur. I feel like now that I'm, where I am in the season I'm in life, and as I grew, I think that's anybody. Yes, it doesn't matter if you want to be a nurse, a CEO, or, a teacher, or whatever the case may be. You have to have internal growth. Yeah. Because eventually, as you grow yourself in the inside, it's going to manifest itself on the outside. And people are going to be like, man, there's something different about you. Or it's just like, I don't know what it is. Yeah. But that stuff really flows from inward to outer, and people can really, tell the difference from that.
Yes, sir.
So I would say that. Let's see. Network. Number 4. Always network. I find it kind of weird now that I'm in grocery stores and people are like grocery shopping with earphones in.
Yeah.
Very weird. Now, you on the phone, cool.
Right.
And sometimes it may, be a day where, hey, I just want to listen to music. Okay, that's fine. But
yes,
I'm just seeing it a lot though.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's just a different time. But, and again, nothing is wrong with that. It's just weird to me.
Yes, sir.
Because I've never seen that until like actually this year. But just network at all costs. Like, you never know the divine time that God has for somebody to come and have a conversation with you, or for you to have a conversation with them.
Right.
And you never know where that conversation is going to lead to, because the conversation I had led to financial freedom here. On the path of that, it led to being debt free. It led to getting around people that I needed to be around. So, associate at all costs. And be genuine and love on people, man. If you just be genuine and just love on people, you're good. Yep. You know what I mean? And just let everything else flow. So that'll kind of be, just my thing to leave with you guys. So
I love it, man. Yeah. Everything that he's talking about has a spirit of excellence to it. Yeah. And when you operate with the spirit of excellence, your expectation is going to increase. The people that are supposed to be in your life and that are not in your life by accident, right? You call people your friend because you work with them, y'all got similar interests. Ask yourself this: absolutely, what do I value about this individual that's in my life? Yeah. Write a list of the primary influencers, the people you talk to the most in your life, and ask yourself, what do I value about these individuals? I don't care if they're family or friends. Right. You have to identify who in your life is an energy vampire. Ask yourself, how do I feel when I leave this person's presence? Good. Am I inspired? Yeah. Am I energized to go and accomplish new things? Yeah. Am I having new thoughts, creative thoughts when I leave this person's presence? Or is this person constantly reminding me of who I used to be, right? I don't like the statement, I'm trying to get back to who I once was. I had to tell my sister about this all the time, because I said, listen, who you once were is not better than who you're going to be, right? And this is how I imagine myself, right? I prayed to get to this version of me. But during those prayers, I didn't fully understand that this is what the current me was going to be, or look like, or think like. Does that make sense? Absolutely. Right? And as we constantly progress, bro, that's just going to be a higher elevated version of ourselves. So I want you guys to hear this. Everything that you do it with a spirit of excellence. You talked about the example of a janitor. Yeah. Bro, I can't tell you how many times I've done things, even currently still to this day. Yeah. Nobody knows this, bro. You are the first person I'm telling this to, and they're going to be the whatever number is, right, whenever you start viewing this. But when I'm working out at the gym, I see paper towels and stuff on the workout floor, even in the restroom. Yeah. Bro, I pick it up. Yeah. I'll pick it up, and God will convict me, because I'll look at it and be like, all right, I'm in a rush, right? You know what I'm saying? Gotta be crazy. Like, hey, God will be like, go and pick it up. It's not going to hurt you, and I'm going to teach you a lesson in this moment to go and do that. And listen to me. I'm not doing it for attention. I'm doing it because I know and God knows what's going on. And I read a book by Grant Cardone, Be Obsessed or Be Average. Okay. I read this book last year, and one of my major takeaways from that book is somebody has to take control. There are hundreds of people walking in and out of those locker rooms that are on the floor working out. I know they see the napkins. I know they see this piece of trash. Even the workers, it's their job to clean it up. I'll still go and do it. And you know what? There is an eternal reward that I receive from doing that. Yeah. Even in all my work that I do, right? When I'm working with people and I'm serving people, if I'm getting paid, I'll give you a quick example. I installed a couple of toilets, bro. Yeah. I ended up making $2,500 off of doing some plumbing work here.
Yeah.
And in the plumbing arena, you can make a lot of money very fast.
Yeah.
Like I made $500 in 2 minutes before, you know.
Yeah.
So like it's a different world.
Yeah.
But although I can make that money aside, I know I have that in the bag.
Right.
I'm going to make that house look better than it was when I found it. That's how I do everything, bro.
Yeah.
And when you guys have that spirit, you will not lose. Don't judge yourself off of how much money you make or how much money you once had, right? If you judge yourself off of your financial accomplishments, you're always going to be judging yourself. Judge yourself off of your righteousness. I have a note in my phone titled Love Language, right? Because words of affirmation is one of my love languages. Okay. And whenever I hear something, or like I did a service and somebody said this is how this made me feel, etc., I'll save that so I can go back and remind myself, like, bro, this is who you really are, right? And when it's just you hear your thoughts more than anybody else, right? You talk to yourself more. So what are you actually saying to yourself? What Keith and I are talking to you guys about today is becoming the best version of you. Right?
Yes.
And the points that he left you guys with today, these gems that were dropped, press pause, jot these things down, have a conversation with yourself about what has convicted you today. Right? I want you to go back and listen to this episode multiple times. Share it with people that you know need to hear this, that you know are yearning for growth. It will be selfish of a person to have breakthrough in something and not share that. Right?
It's true.
I pray that you guys have experienced breakthrough today. I thank you guys for listening. You know, if you have received any type of breakthrough, one nugget, share it with somebody. It's free. Right? It's free. And I want you guys to ask yourself, who is waiting on me to succeed? You guys hear my baby boy in the background probably, right? Before he came into this world, I was already thinking about him. God gave me dreams of him 2 years ago. 2 years ago, God gave me dreams of that little boy in there.
It's crazy.
Right? He was waiting on me to succeed. Before he even came into this world. So this is Ricardo Terrell signing out. I hope you guys have a phenomenal day. Go out and fill someone else's cup so that your cup can be filled.
Yeah.
See you on the flip.
See you later.